Taurus, Taurus, Taurus. Magical blessings, greetings, greetings, greetings to you all. We are entering a major birth pain period here on planet Earth. I'm feeling rather turned on myself. So y'all are in for a treat this time around. Before I get into my regular spiel of things, however, I've got a special request. I have noticed that about 90% of my fellow YouTube astrological peers speak merely astro jargon combined with incoherent sentences and new age bullshit, but they're earning just as much, if not a lot more money than me. So I am requesting, if you have gained anything useful in my 10 years of putting out these free astrology videos, I'm humbly requesting a love donation. No pressure, of course, and if you're brand new, no worries. But even several dollars can really help me to continue to sustain free offerings such as this bi-monthly video. Now, hopefully these astrological peers are talking about Mars opposite to Pluto, square the moon's nodes, as that is an incredibly inescapable dynamic and kind of the backbone of what we all may be feeling or experiencing at these times. Now, first of all, to congratulate each and every one of us, we have survived yet another eclipse cycle. The Taurus New Moon, tomorrow the 19th, will begin a new lunar cycle at 28 degrees Taurus that will bring a regained sense of settling. Oh, thank God, settling. In fact, we could say that this new cycle is bringing in the embodiment, the integration, peace, simplicity, sovereignty, slowness, the way and pace that is natural to us. We've been speaking this for a long time, but now we are really crystallizing this, embodying this, getting these lessons in a way that can be bringing completion. A few loose ends now through summertime, but generally this new moon in Taurus, as if with any new moon, it is a seed sowing time. My fellow witches, we pray, we digest, contemplate the whole last cycle. All the intensity of eclipses brings so many changes. We barely even know what has hit us until we've got some space and some time to digest. So that is the intention largely behind this Taurus new moon. It's bringing in this new space, bringing in this new simplicity. What are our survival needs? How are we earning money? Of course, it has everything to do with money and resources right now. You may have noticed when you open your wallet, a fly falls out. You may have to request for a love donation, but we are getting our feet back on the ground with what's actually sustainable, what's actually a regular routine that allows, just like the routine sunrise, sunset, and the changing weather patterns allows for any plant's life to grow into its fullest, most beautiful potential. Okay, so generally, after the intensity of all these eclipses, which, as we've been talking about, is a soul resurrection, we're talking about coming into powers, capabilities that we've never even dreamed or knew as possible for ourselves. Those are some of the things we can be unlearning, unwinding, integrating, as well as all of the past lifetimes associated with where those powers were originally suppressed, traumatized, vilified, swept under the rug. Of course, those past lifetimes have a funny way of repeating on a subtler level in our earlier life, in our early childhood. So there's been a lot of review of the story of our soul so we can take ownership of the whole healing journey and get back to ourselves. Integrating soul into body is the nature of the times. Now I get to settle into that a little bit more, just really be it, not have to work so hard for it, not have to prove anything to anybody or win any arguments or debates. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And what's really working right now can really work. That's what we're seeing crystal clear. Let's see, Mercury stationed direct on the moon's north node earlier this week, bringing this level of clarity, as well as communication, where it's just what it is. Oranges to apples, This is my nature, this is your nature, this is what works for me, this is what I'm going to continue to do, this is not what's working, And we'll talk about this forming Mars-Pluto opposition that's going to be nearly exact on the new moon tomorrow. So actually this whole last week, mid-May, really intense, bringing up so many reactions, deep feelings, discomfort. It is truly like giving an energetic birth to a new energetic reality. And this can become increasingly exciting. And while I would love to say this new moon is going to bring in a perma settling, we finally get a total vacation, it's going to stay a hot and exciting summer in many respects, with Pluto squaring the moon's nodes. But we are at a peak point these days with Mars forming an opposition to Pluto square the moon's nodes. So hopefully, again, the astrologers that you're listening to in some way are mentioning this fixed cross energy. Because if the astrologies you're tuning into are only talking about when Mercury stations direct or retrograde or when a planet moves into a new sign, chances are they barely know any astrology at all. And that does not mean that they're not charging, calling themselves a professional, and believing themselves to be better than every other astrologer. Jupiter has entered the sign of Taurus. So the moon's north node completes Taurus while Jupiter's entering Taurus. And it is really a beautiful introduction of all of this Venusian wisdom, appreciation, orientation. Because again, what we're talking about now is there's kind of a culmination, completion of this soul being remembered, our past lifetimes being remembered, the past traumas need to be remembered. That's a part of Pluto square the nodes. Our soul fragmented in the past. Some of our power is stuck in a past lifetime. Subtly repeated in early childhood, formed misleading beliefs about who we are, what we can do, how we can operate. So there's a tremendous digestion and integration of soul into body taking place, I would say, through the rest of this year. But we're also at a turning point right now. We can really be seeing the results of these lessons that we've been learning that in many ways can go against the grain of how we've been trained to behave since childhood. Oh, you've got to be fast. You've got to produce this much. You've got to function in society. And Taurus is, you know what? I can have my tiny home in the middle of nowhere, grow my own food, and, I'll work once a week. Way closer to how human beings are supposed to live than these absolutely ridiculous medieval prisons we've been stuck in for so many years. Now, Jupiter is our orientation. It is how we are forming an orientation to life through an exploration. Jupiter's like a magnifying glass that expands wherever he is transiting in our solar system. So Jupiter in Taurus, May of this year through May of 2024, is an exploration of body consciousness. It is forming an orientation to life that is simplifying, so to understand the base necessities, what really works, the wisdom is less is more. The wisdom is that of abundance. The wisdom is simply sticking one seed in the earth. You apply several ingredients, maybe fertilizer, sun, and water, and you get a whole new plant with hundreds of seeds to create hundreds of more plants. And those seeds probably automatically drift and sow themselves around, and gardens, if planned carefully, can grow themselves in a rather simple way. Do we need the right resources? Do we need the right manpower? Yes, but does it have to be super complex? Life on this planet does not need to be super complex. Probably in our relationships, but in terms of how we're living our life, people, Wisdom is less is more. Jupiter in Taurus is going to turn us into a wisdom of abundance. This is also principles that exist within the body. It highlights somatic needs. As we're entering the Aquarian age, we're going to have so many realizations about the human species, how we evolve, and the nature of trauma. I don't hear anybody talking about these things yet. I have yet to write these books, but it's all going to be about trauma one day, and we're going to learn about how evolution actually works and how trauma is natural, necessary, and a part of how our species kind of compacts and expands in order to evolve through this process. So anyways, somatic, simple, sensual tools, groundbreaking, life-changing, essential oils, good food, laying on the grass, another body to connect with. Somatic connection can be the difference between heaven or hell right now, or at least moving through these huge waves of panic and anxiety that is to be expected right now. So much to do with sexuality as well. As Jupiter pulls into Taurus, the moon's north node's going to pull into Aries in the next few months. And then this Mars-Pluto opposition also brings up tremendous sexual tension. And on a deeper level, this is really the unconscious being reflected back largely through relationship. There's going to be a big ping pong, very reactive, very intense, fighting, blow-ups, and reactions is to be expected all of this week, most of mid-May. But there's a significant shift that is happening here at the new moon, which is this last week, Mars is in Cancer, forming this opposition to Pluto, which is extremely uncomfortable. It's emotionally icky. It's like I have all these yucky feelings and I don't even know what it is. I don't really like this. I don't like this person. Feels uncomfortable. Then Mars goes opposite to Pluto and transits into Leo at the exact same time. So the fact that Pluto's at 0 degrees Aquarius, for those of you who actually look at the charts, and I want to be training more of this, another quick, request, plus my love donation, for those who are locals in the Asheville, North Carolina surrounding environment. I've been here for the last 3 years, basically a total hermit, and I need help. Just like I'm requesting love donation, I want to land workshops, monthly meetings, and generally, if you want to learn astrology, I want to be teaching locally as well. So for some reason, I've been an untouchable the 3 years I've been here in Asheville so far. I'm kind of learning about why. I think that I may be a little intimidating, or maybe people even think that I'm out of your league in some way. Not to toot my own horn, I'm fucking awesome and know what I'm doing a little bit. But please don't think that I'm not out of your league. And if you make contact with me, we'll be meeting in a certain way. And I want to be meeting, and I want to be doing more local things. That's a part of this Taurus embodiment as well. I need people. I need support. I cannot be piloting this ship by myself, going up onto the, you get what I'm saying. Thank you for hearing both those requests, and there's more excitement to come because I want this to be a fun report. All right, so Mars goes opposite to Pluto. It's this discomfort of birthing. It starts really internal, emotional. The last 2 months has been Mars in Cancer forming safety. And you know how we've been forming this, going from safe to not safe. Here's this Pluto-Mars opposition. We're in the exact turning point, middle ground, as soon as this video is reaching you. Safe, not safe, feeling good, not feeling good. I'm feeling family and home. Now I'm feeling danger and feeling threatened. And this is, again, causing so many reactions. And it's the time to get it all out. Mars takes Pluto, the unconscious information, and makes it conscious through this reactivity that is largely subconscious, unconscious. It's like, this is agitating me. Fuck! Damn it, I hate. And then it's like, oh yeah, now that I started to actually emote and, get into what the shit is instead of sweeping it under or pretending it's all fine. This stuff boils up. It's people reflecting back, triggering things. Oh yeah, everything's fine. And then they say the perfect thing that's like Luke Skywalker shooting the laser into the Death Star and the Death Star fucking blows up. So that's what we're talking about here. Then Mars pulls into Leo. And there's this birthing. All of this safety is to create. Create. Mars in Leo is creativity. It is playfulness. It is Cancer being within, baby in the womb. What is this? What is this baby going to be? To now baby's born and we can see it and we can feel it. And now we're playing with baby. And what does baby want to create? This is about renewing our inner child, our soul coming back to it, even with all of its powers. We're witches, we're sorcerers, we're mediums, we're psychics. And I don't want to encourage everyone to go too crazy, but these types of phenomenon do exist, and there are particular souls being initiated into these things at this time. This is also our soul, which is more like a child. This is where, the psychologist pioneering Pluto, the unconscious, it's brand new. We only started to pioneer the unconscious a century ago, beginning with Sigmund Freud, who was really ahead of his time in certain ways, but it's also quite medieval. And then we have Carl Jung, who's, the unconscious is like a beast and it's scary and it's dark and we have to go in and face our fears and conquer this thing. But I'm a little bit more in tune with the Milton Erickson approach, who's the father of modern hypnotherapy, who says the unconscious is like a child. That's something we can all be very aware of each other with this Mars-Pluto opposition. We're bouncing into one another and we're fighting these battles, and righteous anger and reflectivity is that, it's immature maybe because we're actually talking about very core things. It's immature because we're dealing with very delicate, personal, intimate things. That's been Mars in Cancer. Can we form this safety? How do we create these environments? If we're talking about sexual exploration, which is a collective theme, what is required for this sexual exploration? It's something I'm feeling increasingly passionate and called to. Why? Not just because I like to have sex and that's great, and it's healing my childhood where sex was considered evil, but also sexual exploration, even all of our kinks, all of these things that current society has no understanding of or barely beginning to understand. This is about healing PTSD. This is about creating safety. Sexuality, other than just producing children, and I'm going to let the spiritual folks out there, because I was a Hare Krishna for a bit, sex is a lot more than just producing children. And it's not just a distraction that's going to lead us away from our soul or spirituality. It is a way of tuning directly into life force. So this soul embodiment back into the body can absolutely also be connected to our own sexual liberation, our own sexual exploration, and creating environments to harness that energy, to feel excited to live, and then use that energy to offer so much more to those that we care about and the rest of the world. In a Taurus type of way, this does not even necessarily have to require another person or another body. We can use our own body, our own mind or imagination, things, objects, clothing, senses, whatever. Explore it. It's here to be explored. This is what we were born to do. But we can bring all of this into ourself. Even celibate, even asexually, we're dealing with the same fundamental life force. But yeah, Mars square the nodes, opposite to Pluto square the nodes, can go off the chain, can get lost and go crazy and end up creating devastation and harm and not necessarily being honed in the most useful, safe, or respectful type of way. And by the way, I have one third personal request, though it may be controversial and fringy to say. I'm going to request, for those of you who may be familiar with another astrologer who goes by Kaipacha and does the Pele report, I'm going to request that you either tune into me or tune into him, because we're not at all similar, and only one of us has a track record of sexual abuse. So only one of us is really qualified to mention phrases such as the divine feminine. And if you're not familiar with what I'm referring to, my friend Tia Quinn wrote an article that's on the internet. You can just Google Gypsy Vibes Pele Report, and she writes about her own personal experience with Kaipacha. His real name is Tom Letcher. And if any of this reaches Tom Letcher, I'm just going to let you know that I will always see you as a despicable soul. You're going to take that shit straight to the grave and into your future lifetimes. So Mars is also going to square Jupiter this next week on the 23rd, and this Martian in Leo square to Jupiter energy can get pretty big bossy, pretty ambitious, pretty excited. And we want to harness and use that energy in the most useful way. Not necessarily start any forest fires, but is there a need to take a stand sometimes? Yes. Is there a need to create separation sometimes? Yes. Is there a need to have the protective emotion of anger in order to create necessary movement, changes, boundaries, light necessary fires, ignite necessary fuses to blow up necessary TNT sticks? I think so. But that takes some real honing. It takes some real practice, and chances are there is, it can be a little bit too much TNT at times. So we've got to really regulate where and how we are channeling and using our energy to get back up on our horse. What are we fighting for? What really matters? I'm a fan of the Bhagavad Gita. I'm not one of these passive spiritual, oh yeah, we just meditate in a cave and then God takes care of everything. There was a number of astrologers surrounding Kaipacha in that incident that had that particular perspective. Oh yeah, we don't do anything. We just let everything happen by itself because it's karma. And y'all astrologers, I'm remembering you, and y'all will take that to the grave too. Unless you do something about it. There's ways to rectify the horrible mistakes we've made in the past. That requires our accountability and then taking action. You have to actually take action sometimes. So I'm a fan of the Bhagavad Gita. The symbolism is we're already born on a battlefield. There is not the opt-out option here. We have to take a stand. We have to move things. We have to honor the truth of ourself and others. Each of us are created completely unique. We all have completely different needs, sensitivities, and desires, which is why we shouldn't impress our particular philosophy or perspective onto everybody else, especially if we're doing that in such a way to, continue to be operating fully on ulterior motivation. Like, if you want to just have sex with really young women, make that out loud what you're doing instead of pretending to be a savior who is saving women. So that wouldn't really be true, and it might actually cause more damage than help. And I'm getting a little bit tired of my role as an astrologer simply being correcting the damage caused by other astrologers via their own confusion. We all need to keep each other in check, do we not? I don't proclaim to be all-knowing either. I just have some level of awareness at this point in my life. Thanks for bearing with me. Again, for those who are with me and would like to support, doesn't even have to be money. Feel free to join my community. There's a lot of needs that are missing, and I cannot be providing everything myself. There's people out there that are doing really amazing things that are not being seen, that are not being recognized, while these total assholes are stealing all of the spotlight in order to drive the entire world straight into the ground. What do we need? Taurus. Moon and Taurus. What are the base, most simplistic necessities? And we're starting there. All of these incredibly intense changes took place from the month April to May. It can just be overwhelming. The people, the environment, the circumstances, all these new things coming in. So we do need the Taurus medicine to take it slow, breathe it in, get our feet on the earth. A couple more pieces here before I wrap it up. I hope this one's been a fun ride for y'all. Venus squares Chiron on the 24th. Okay, so I believe this is the third week of May. Again, I'm not hyper focused on dates, because those astrologers and y'all, if you get confused, like it's all on this date, it's not. This new moon is the whole next month. These are dynamics that last more than particular days of time, and they, these things get triggered on different days for all of us. I can look at your chart, compare it to the current astrology. That's how we get ridiculously accurate information. For those of y'all who don't know how to do that, join my Astro School. Get in touch with me if you're a local. This is the stuff I want to teach, because this is not challenging. This is like really basic astrology, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. And then there is no debate between these astrologers that are just totally fucking not seeing it for what it is, when it's just what it is what it is. Astrology is not about belief systems. It's not about new age bullshit. I am here as a sword to cut through the bullshit by embodying Saturn and Pluto, which are the two planets that a lot of my new age flaky so-called friends actually despise. Well, you think you're more spiritually evolved by throwing the parts out of nature that you think aren't appropriate, and you're calling yourself the divine feminine? You are literally recreating patriarchy. Looking at you, rose priestesses, and whoever the fuck else thinks you actually know what you're doing, while you're doing the same exact thing of avoiding the parts of life that are actually challenging. We think that it's mean and cruel. Oh, is it mean and cruel to actually look at the parts that are causing you to live in hell and in prison? Do we want to be married to abusers and narcissists and live in a bubble where we're pretending that everything's happy for the rest of our life? There's a lot of people out there using our spiritual delusional bullshit to enable evil. You know how many people got on my ass over my life of being a sharp Saturn-Pluto person who just wants us to get to reality? Can we actually talk about what's going on here and now? As an astrologer for 10 years, I feel completely alone in the room at times. And I don't mean to shut down the amazing work that is being done out there. I'm not pretending that I'm the only one. That's definitely not true. And I'd be happy to point y'all to people that are even more qualified, capable, and better teachers than myself. They're the ones that actually choose to live a respectful life, though, and aren't just copping out and pretending they're all spiritual guru because you're meditating in a cave and not doing anything when life actually calls you to. This is a time where we are being called. Whew! I'm going to feel better after this one. New moon also conjuncts the trans-Pluto planet Sedna. So I want to end on this note because Sedna is new. These trans-Plutonians are very new parts of the solar system. And what it means that we're discovering these new parts of the solar system, there's centaur planets, there's all these asteroids, and guess what? It's all real information. So the real up-to-date pioneering astrologers, this is what we're actually researching, testing, pioneering to integrate into the human species, which, by the way, for those of my confused folks out there, you don't just meditate on a planet, get a download, and then write a book on it. Astrology is you tune into the direct forces of nature, you observe it, You see it play out through time, and you do thousands of case studies on other people and compare your results with other astrologers doing the same. That's how we start to understand what these planetoids are. So this new moon conjunct Sedna is an introduction of Sedna, who is a rather new part of our human species. So what I'm going to share with you here is rather cutting edge. And I can't say, oh yeah, this is totally known and sure, because there has been no solid book done on Sedna at this particular point. The mythos of Sedna is that she is the Inuit goddess who becomes the bottom of the ocean sea goddess. And there's very much a story of isolation in her mythos, being captured by an unsavory husband, and then father attempts to save her, but then as the father's attempting to save her, he can't, ends up cutting her fingers off. She sinks to the bottom of the icy ocean, and her fingers turn into the seals, and she becomes the goddess of all underwater, especially icy aquatic life. Now, what I'm going to share about Sedna, she has a lot to do with the simultaneous fragmentation of consciousness that then isolates itself in this void. Sedna is in a vacuum of nothingness, just a void. She is the princess locked in a tower that's like 1,000,000 feet off the ground, and there's no doorway to get there. She's just at the top of the tower. So isolation is a Sedna theme. Father wounding, the fragmentation of consciousness due to patriarchy, the abuse of the husband, the abuse of the father, locking the daughter into the tower. But then there's this reconnecting of consciousness, where Sedna is the deep sea diver that can go to a certain depth or to a certain void of outer space, go all the way out into that void of nothingness, and then make this huge galaxial arc back to center. That's what Sedna does. So for all of us, because I'm saying Sedna is rather new, we can all be tuning into experimenting and comparing what is our experience. For the new moon on the 19th will set the theme for the lunar cycle to come. That's always the case. The new moon is a snapshot, a keyframe of the entire month to come. So this next month, we can all be exploring what is Sedna, how can we, be understanding this part of our collective consciousness even better. But there is also this marked signature of go into your own tower in the way that works. Go into your own void of consciousness in the way that is a returning to absolute sovereignty. It's like super monastic in her own world in many respects, but creating an environment in that world that is somewhat like us being the gods of our own mini universe. We can do that enough to feel very full and sovereign way where there's like nothing that can get through, me, God, my world, my space. And this is a kind of new consciousness. I'm going to be talking about Sedna through the next year because we got Pluto, first degree Aquarius, conjunct Sedna, who's going to pull into Gemini. Sedna has never been in Gemini for any of us. Moves through a sign, it takes a long time. I forget how many centuries is a Sedna orbit. But that's going to be a very significant shift, and we've got a lot of excitement in the near future, which is why the intensity of the birthing can be so dialed up at this particular moment in time. So please do breathe in all of the Taurus medicine and wisdom, more slowness, more simplicity, more stability, more sovereignty, more feet on the ground, acceptance of what is, while we've got that Mars-Pluto square the nodes that's birthing a new baby, and the sexual liberation, the play, the freedom, celebrating ourselves as the humans that we were meant to be, discarding all of the projection, the assumptions by those who will never get us. Why waste our time? Can we be understood by everybody? The answer is no. So why would we ever try? Be yourself, do your thing, honor your way and pace, And those who can meet you there will meet you there. I'm attempting to do that to the very best of my capacity as well. Your love donations are appreciated. Your local support is appreciated. I look forward to getting back to the community. We've got some shifts going as always, and I'm going to be really dedicated to completing the Astro School through the rest of this year. The curriculum is mostly together, but for those who would like an in-depth astrological education, you can sign up for my Astro School. I will be pushing through the rest of this birthing myself to bring that school to a completion, and then we can start all getting caught up to the same space and start doing some really, really magical work here on Earth as we're simultaneously recognizing our mystical, inconceivable interconnectivity. What surreal parallels we're all living here on planet Earth. It is such an honor to play the part as the message delivery mailman for your soul. As always, I'm wishing the very best to each and every one of you. And as always, take care. Take care of yourself, your body, your needs, your way, and your pace. The embodiment of your own self-care, like a fountainhead, will radiate, touch, and uplift the hearts of others without even needing to try to, by allowing yourself to get the necessary food, sleep, good somatic connection, and the oxygen that our lungs need to breathe.